Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome back to the channel. As some of you may know, I have recently bought a 1999 Honda Prelude, and I just wanted to share with y'all my experience of buying a car out of state. Specifically, I'll be touching on bringing a car from Oregon to California. There might be some things that are a little bit more catered to that versus all around, like bringing a car out of state from state to state, if that makes sense. This will probably apply though to bringing a car into California in general, but we'll touch on all that as we go along. I think where I should begin is the two states, one obviously that I bought from, which was Oregon, and the other, which was New Mexico, where I did not buy from. Now, two main differences was New Mexico would have been private. Oregon ended up being a family-owned dealership. I reached out to my friend Marino and asked him how he ended up buying privately from out of state. The way he described it was, as you're negotiating the price and you agree on a price, come up with a time and date that you would be coming down. You show proof that you're coming down. It was all sort of like a gentleman's agreement. I think in his case, he had it shipped over, so he had to deal with that separately and what have you. So that would have been the experience that way. The route I went, which was the family-owned dealership in Oregon, they had plenty of videos and details about the cars and like all of the facts and things like that already well documented for me prior to deciding that, yes, I wanted to get the car. Now with them, they did require a non-refundable, I believe $500 deposit. I did that over the phone with them. That money goes towards the total price of the car as well. I had an option of just straight up buying it, having it shipped over. That would have taken a few more weeks, and it also would have cost, I think, another maybe $1,500 or so. I actually went with the option of flying out there on a Saturday morning and then driving it back myself. So after I put on my deposit and booked my flight, I sent them the information as far as like what flight, what time, and then they actually ordered me an Uber to bring me to their dealership from Portland to I forget the name of the town. They're just south of Portland. Once I Ubered there, then they took some more of my information so they could start working on the DMV side of things on their end while I test drove the car myself. Because it was a family-owned dealership, they did a lot of the DMV stuff. So this is where maybe something like a private sale might go differently, because then you was going to California, they surrendered, or the car surrendered the Oregon plates, and then they put what they call like a traveler's permission, like paper slip on the back window. That way, if you get pulled over, you have a bunch of documentation with you on hand. That's proof of the sale. DMV paperwork, because it was a dealership, and also paperwork from the dealership themselves, and that visiting or traveling driver's permit thing on the window as well, with no license plates. The license plates, or they had the dealership plates on there instead. Dealership meaning like the logo of the dealership. So once they do all of their DMV stuff there, you don't actually get the pink slip. You don't get the title. They FedEx it to you. So I had that FedEx to me, I believe it was something like 7 days or like a week later, with a signature required and all that. So this is where it starts to get more informative, I think. Everything else was kind of like personally what I did. But the few things, the key notes you need to take right now, I believe would be, one, you also have to smog the car here in California. So even though I got it from Oregon and it was smogged and ready to go for anyone who purchases it in Oregon, because I'm coming into California, regulations, rules, and things like that are different. So need to get a smog, need to get my title, obviously insured and all that. Another thing is, if you're a AAA member and you're trying to do all of that DMV paperwork through AAA to have it registered under your name, if it was a private sale, even out of state, I would have been able to do it. But because it was a dealership out of state, I wasn't able to use AAA. They said only DMV can work on that. So I went to the DMV, and this is also some things you need to keep note of, because in my mind, I was thinking like, oh, I could just, leave my Prelude at home, take one of the commuter cars, go to the DMV, do my thing and go. But that is not the right thing to do. The right thing to do is actually bring your car, the one that you're registering. Not only bring it, but the first thing you should do is drive into the lane where you would do your driver's test. Like if you're like a kid and you could finally get your driver's driver's license, that same driveway, there's a separate lane for VIN verification. So before you even go inside of the DMV and wait in line, get your number or go to your appointment or what have you, drive there first. Have the VIN verified. So what they'll do is they'll take the paperwork, they'll look at your VIN, they'll have you open the hood, they'll look at the miles, they'll give you your VIN verification paperwork to bring inside. When you go inside, they'll give you another sheet of paper. You might be able to print that one too at home. I'm not completely sure, maybe, but they give you one more document to fill out yourself. On that one, you will have to fill out front and back, and it's very self-explanatory, but that's in order to change it from previous ownership to yours. Another big thing to keep in mind is if you are buying in Oregon where there is no sales tax, you're obviously not paying the tax for the car there, but you will have to pay the tax in California. Now, I believe, do your research, but I believe for Oregon, if you bought the car and it stayed in Oregon for 12 months, then you move it over to California, you don't have to pay the sales tax. So the only time I think you can get away with something like that, and luckily speaking with my sister-in-law and someone she knew from New York, I think this is where something like this might work. Let's just say you actually live in Oregon and you buy a car and then you know you're going to move to California before 12 months. When you buy that car and you move to California, you have to pay the sales tax for a car you bought while living in Oregon. So what you do is if it's a case like that where you buy the car in Oregon, you are an Oregon resident and you're not transferring or changing the name, but just simply registering it in under California, that's where I would just say, hold up, just wait till the 12 months passes, then register your car. So yeah, you might be having a car that has Oregon plates for a while, but if you could get away with it because you were a resident in Oregon and all you're trying to do is just change the registration to California, at that point, I might be giving bad advice, but you would save a lot of money. Especially think about if it's a new car. If you buy a brand new car in Oregon and then you don't pay sales tax in Oregon, you come to California, they charge you. What if that's a Mercedes? What if it's something expensive? They're going to charge you all that sales tax and you're going to have to pay it right then and there at the DMV. Unless some of y'all know some other things, please put it down in the comments, but this is just my understanding. So in my case, I bought it from a dealership. Of course I'm driving it. I don't live in Oregon. I don't even have that, I don't have close relatives or anything like that in Oregon either. Maybe I could have registered under one of their addresses for a year, maybe, and then register it under California and avoid the sales tax. But let's just say it's the same situation as me. You get your car from Oregon, you drive it down right away, you need it registered right away, you don't know anyone in Oregon. Expect to pay those sales tax at the DMV right then and there. Those two big things I wasn't completely sure. Well, the VIN number verification, I didn't know at all. So it was a good thing I actually drove the Honda Prelude that day to the DMV and I didn't just bring one of my daily drivers. And the other is the sales tax. Thankfully I had that money, but imagine you don't. Imagine you spend all your money on buying that car and you don't have the tax from, because you didn't spend any tax in Oregon. Maybe you're thinking oh, I got away without spending any sales tax. That's wrong. Right then and there, the DMV gives you your plates once you square everything away. I do highly recommend, especially if you're buying anything that you're buying, if it's private or if it's a dealership, just have all the paperwork that was involved with that transaction. Whatever it is, just bring it, because even the DMV person was questioning, is this a dealership? Well, yes, it is a dealership. It's a family-owned dealership. Here's all their paperwork, and they actually went through all the paperwork that had to do with the transaction as well. So bring all of that. Obviously, bring the title. Bring your smog, and then the two pieces of paperwork that are filled out there at the DMV, one to transfer over and the other one for the VIN verification. All of that needs to go to the clerk at the DMV. Once all that is paid off, all the fees and the taxes, then they will literally hand you your new license plates along with the stickers and all that. I'm not 100% sure if you're able to ask them to do a custom plate right then and there. I decided, you know what, I'll just use the plates that they give me, the random plates that they give me, the typical California ones. And then later on, if I want to do at least the 1960s plate or a custom 1960s plate, I'll do that like when it gets close to like a year after registration, because even with that, you don't want to get too close to the next time you have to register it. So hopefully this video helps you along the way with the research you're putting into purchasing a car out of state. I want to thank my friend Marino, because even though I didn't end up going private and I didn't buy the car from New Mexico, which is what triggered me questioning how to get it done and how he did it, it still made me a little more comfortable buying out of state. People do it a lot. There's dealerships that, like that one that I went to, that ship cars all across the US. So don't be afraid. Again, hopefully this video helped you with your research. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. Any of you watching have anything to add to the video, corrections or other things I might have missed, put that in the comments as well so we can all help each other with this. That's gonna do it. If you guys are new to the channel, please subscribe. Check out all the other automotive content I have. That's gonna be it. I'll talk to you guys later.